There's a lot of emotion in it. You're writing about people who are dying.
Every year, thousands of adults are abused or neglected.
There are families who are devastated by what's just happened.
Government whistleblowers warned of holes in the safety net.
Ethically and morally, I cannot sit back and watch what was happening.
We had been telling them they need to be protected.
Thousands of people no longer able to protect themselves.
It could be our parents, it could be our grandparents.
Abuse, exploitation, and neglect buried by bureaucracy.
It could be our kids one day.
They were unprotected. Pennsylvania was founded on a simple promise: liberty, justice, and protection, not just for some, but for all of us. So what happens when that promise is broken?
So much of what we've put out there now has been unfolding in the shadows for so many years.
Angela Columbus is an experienced investigative journalist, but when she began looking into how Pennsylvania protects older adults, even she was surprised by the scale of what she found. State law seemed straightforward. Protective service agencies have 20 days to investigate abuse or neglect allegations. Taxpayers send them millions of dollars each year to do this job. But Columbus discovered that nearly half of the Commonwealth's aging agencies routinely blew past the 20-day deadline.
I was overwhelmed by how big of a problem it was.
Hundreds, and in some years thousands, of vulnerable people were unprotected. In Dauphin County, 76-year-old Christiana Blake was one of them.
It was one of the first stories I wrote.
According to the police report, a stroke left Blake bedridden, unable to speak or feed herself. Her daughter was a licensed nurse and responsible for her care. Care called into question by police.
She had also been brought to the attention of protective services workers, and her case was being investigated.
The Dauphin County Aging Agency responsible for investigating abuse and neglect took nearly 2 months, twice as long as state law allows, to begin its investigation. By then it was too late. The local police report shows Blake died covered in wounds. Her daughter was charged with her mother's death.
The wounds were between 2 inches and 2.5 inches deep. The doctor commented that the wounds on Blake could be one of the worst cases of neglect he has seen during his career spanning 40 years. Her home was unkept.
Columbus's reporting found Blake was not alone. She reviewed records from all 52 of Pennsylvania's aging services agencies.
I was looking for a broad understanding of what the problems were, because that's the only way to assess whether they're doing a good job or not.
Those state records showed nearly half of Pennsylvania's aging agencies routinely missed the 20-day deadline to investigate abuse or neglect. In some counties, investigations took months, even up to a year. Columbus published her findings. She told Christiana Blake's story. Then she got a hold of an email that confirmed problems were far more widespread.
And the subject line is massive concerns for multiple counties.
The email was written by a staffer in the State Department of Aging, the agency overseeing adult protective service investigations.
And then it says, we are not doing enough as a department to address this crisis and create a long-term plan. I have been bringing these concerns up for months. This is not okay. This is not moral. This is negligence on the department's part.
That email confirmed what whistleblowers had been warning about.
Ethically and morally, I cannot sit back and watch what was happening.
Government insiders were eager to speak with Spotlight PA.
We had been telling them they need to be protected.
The email from inside Pennsylvania's Department of Aging warned of a crisis.
The subject line is massive concerns for multiple counties.
Massive concerns coming from inside the state agency that's supposed to protect vulnerable adults.
We are not doing enough as a department to address this crisis and create a long-term plan. I have been bringing these concerns up for months. This is not okay. This is not moral. This is negligence on the department's part.
Whistleblowers were willing to show their faces and risk their reputations to fix what they saw was broken.
I was an aging services specialist.
Peter Hahn spent nearly a decade inside Pennsylvania's Department of Aging.
We were basically the auditor, monitor of the investigation to ensure that the investigation was done according to the law and the regulations.
What he saw, he says, he and his colleagues were powerless to fix.
I often saw investigations took a year. The law says 20 days. So what are we doing to ensure that we don't see investigations taking 3 months, 6 months, a year?
Hans watched bureaucratic delay turn into life-ending tragedy.
They're not identifying the risk that is in front of their eyes, or they're not reducing or eliminating that risk. And the end consequence is older adults can be left at risk to the point of premature death or greater harm or pain.
And you seen that actually happen?
I couldn't count the number of times. Many, many times.
One case he can't get off his mind.
I remember a case where the person was run over by a car, but we had been telling them they need to be protected. They need an evaluation. They lack capacity, and they weren't protecting this person.
That person was 75-year-old Luen Ung. She became a central figure in Spotlight PA's reporting.
Her case and the handling of her case by the local county area agency on aging really demonstrated how terrible things can happen when the system fails older adults.
Investigative reporter Angela Columbus read from the Philadelphia Aging Services case file.
It says, first responder observed trash on the floor in the kitchen, living room, and the dining room, dishes piled in the sink and on top of the stove, trash and rotten food on the tables, a roach infestation, smell of cat urine and rotten food, dead mice and live mice. First responder observed older adult cleaning up maggots on the living room floor.
The case spent months dormant.
It was too late by the time the agency actually got in there to provide the services. Luen walks out of her house one morning and gets struck by a van in a hit-and-run accident and dies.
Did they die prematurely? Yes. Were they instructed by people like myself and others on the telephone, weekly in this case, like, you're not doing what you need to do. You need to do X. We're telling them specifically what to do to protect that one individual when there's thousands just in that county alone.
It's terrible. It was terrible. I mean, I felt, I got up and I just needed to walk away for a bit. I went out and took a walk and cleared my head because it's heavy, right? They're not numbers, they're human beings.
That's one of the worst for sure, but there are sadly too many more just like it.
Sherry McEwen never planned on being a whistleblower, but after years watching the adult protection system fail from the inside, she felt it was her best choice.
Ethically and morally, I cannot sit back and watch what was happening.
She and her colleagues tried to raise alarms internally, but say their concerns went nowhere.
You're no longer invited to meetings. You're prohibited from talking to other people. Your hands are effectively tied behind your back. We have made suggestions, and they don't want to hear it because they don't want to do that. They want to do less work, and they want to appear compliant all the time so that every time they ask for more money, their chances of getting it are pretty good.
Keeping problems out of public view meant solutions stayed out of reach too.
This is not just a problem for older adults. This is a problem for every taxpayer in this state, that your money is not being spent the way you're told it's being spent.
McEwen said speaking inside the Department of Aging carried consequences, but speaking publicly is forcing accountability.
I call this meeting of the House Appropriations Committee to order. I call this meeting of the House Appropriations Committee to order.
In February 2024, Aging Secretary Jason Kavulich needed lawmakers to approve his budget. That meant answering their questions. Many could have come straight out of Angela Columbus's notepad. For example, why were a quarter of the state's aging services offices taking so long to investigate abuse and neglect?
You sent a report that showed 13 of the 52 AAAs, or 1 in 4, were non-compliant. That's a pretty stark assessment.
They wanted to know why thousands of their constituents died under the state's protection.
Somebody has made a call. Grandma is being abused. My neighbor is being neglected. These folks end up dead after someone reported them as being vulnerable. And PDA, your agency, is telling the press, well, we really don't know. We really can't explain. Maybe they died of abuse or neglect. We didn't really ask. I don't. Why isn't the data collected to link those two things?
The secretary offered a simple answer.
We know that the individual passed away. Right now, the circumstances of death, we do not have the data to report on the circumstances.
And you haven't put that into place?
We are following the Older Adult Protective Services Act. We are collecting the data that the law has told us we need to.
That law, Pennsylvania's Older Adult Protective Services Act, governs how elder abuse cases are handled and overseen. It was passed in 1987 and continues aging alongside the more than 3 million Pennsylvanians it's supposed to protect. And Spotlight PA's investigation found the state had been tracking deaths tied to abuse and neglect cases until Secretary Kavulich took office.
How does that affect care for older adults in Pennsylvania?
Well, I can say, for one thing, it sort of shields the horrors that sometimes occur. And I'm not saying it happens in every case, but if there are problems, nobody knows about them. And if nobody knows about them, then there's going to be less pressure to change.
A year later, Secretary Kavulich returned to lawmakers with a new plan.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Kavulich, Secretary of Aging for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
The plan included an extra $2 million, specifically for accountability and oversight.
We have taken our due diligence. We have taken to make sure great steps to make sure we have procedures, policies, and the right practice in place formally for the first time in an administration to correct this.
It would take new technology, a computer system upgrade, and overhaul.
We're asking for an investment in our infrastructure, not just in personnel.
But before they signed off, lawmakers wanted answers about a specific case, one they knew about because Spotlight PA brought it to light.
Her case was gravely mishandled, and while I understand that you cannot comment on a specific case, how would this new system ensure that these types of situations do not occur again?
2 years earlier, in 2023, Luen Ung died on the state's watch. The case file showed Philadelphia's aging agency waited nearly 2 months to respond. By then, it was too late.
It says, case is to be closed. Older adult dies 1/8/23 in the hospital. Older adult is no longer in need of protective services.
How would this new system ensure that these types of situations do not occur again?
The legacy system that I inherited was inherently broken. The monitoring that was done was inconsistent. There had been no consistency in how we did anything until I became secretary. We brought in enhanced training. We brought in different levels of cooperation to improve the work. The focus is on improving the work.
Lawmakers questioned whether improvements would really hold anyone accountable. They wondered if it was time to start fresh.
Have you ever looked at sort of like pay for performance or like metrics that would maybe incentivize better care or better oversight rather than simply punishment?
I think that is a great conversation to be had, but that requires your assistance to do.
Obviously, in the city of Philadelphia, there's probably a lot of, I would think there's probably a lot of entities that could pick up this mantle.
And I think that is a conversation we should have, because clearly these abuses continue and we simply cannot allow that to happen.
I think, scrutiny is good. It pushes people to be better. It pushes people to move faster.
What impact do you want to have with this work?
That's a great question. I want things to get better. I want there to be a better safety net for older adults. I want there to be more accountability and transparency 30 years from now. It could be our parents, it could be our grandparents, you know, it could be our kids one day.